Good afternoon, everyone. I'm back to give another installment of what I believe that I'm inspired to speak on. In First Timothy, the fourth chapter, the second verse, it is written, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. To me, verse means telling lies as a hypocrite, and because of your lies, you are burning your conscience away as in putting a hot iron on an open wound. God gave to each one of us a conscience. Truth and honor should speak to a good man and good woman's conscience. But it is a known fact that it was an intentional effort on the part of some of this nation's educators in times past to miseducate people of African descent of their true history so that we would never know who we were. So to control a people is to control the storytelling so that it keeps a people from knowing their true potential. Our original oppressors knew our true intellectual genius, our manifested greatness, and our divinity within. So they kept it from us. For a people to oppress another people, there are three things that you take from them. You take their history, you take their language, and you take their psychological factor, which is the VIPs, the values, the interests, and the principles of that people. Then they replace them with their history, their language, their values, interests, and principles. To be real with you, there are some even now in this country that wants to continue to control the narrative. And stories that they tell about this country does not include to a large degree about African American studies, Native American studies, Latin American studies, and even Asian American studies. Our deepest dilemma comes from not knowing that we are powerful beyond measure and that it is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens the haters. We were all meant to shine as children of God do. And it's not just in some of us, it's in all of us. And as we let our own light shine, we give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates us. We can't go forward until we understand the past. It is very important for our children to have a better understanding, not just what we have accomplished as people today, but also what we accomplished in past history before slavery. So it is time for us to educate ourselves and our children of who we are and where we came from. We are missing transmissions of generations of wisdom that came through our ancestors, which is called histories. This could be a turning point if we all, as people, black, brown, white, yellow, and red, come together as one. We are what we think all day long, and the mind is voice activated, which means our thoughts are no greater than the word in which we feed them. To really look at the African people's contributions, we will begin to understand the role that Africa played in the shaping of our intellectual world. History means his story, and there are many stories out there. And if you truly want to be knowledgeable, and knowledge itself is not the goal, but it is the means. It is important for us to know as many different versions of the same story. This allows you to develop deductive reasoning, to be able to compare the stories and begin to analyze consistencies in the stories. We need to begin to see the flaws in certain stories and be able to discern the truth from a lie. Division threatens our very existence as human beings, and this is not an illusion. We all should know the truth that there is more that connects us than separates us. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And in times of crisis, the wise build bridges while the foolish build barriers. We have to find a way to look after one another as if we were one single people. Not knowing your history leads to trauma. You are off balance, off course, and out of sync. But you see, when you know your history, you can navigate. But there does exist some African history documents that tells the story of the coming into being of the cosmos within our universe. It comes to us through the Shabaka stone. This is a rare ancient Egyptian relic that contains religious text which dates from the 25th dynasty of Egypt. This stone is displayed in the British Victoria Albert Museum in London, England. Shabaka was a pharaoh of Egypt of the 25th dynasty, and dynasty means a hereditary line of rulers of Egypt. Shabaka was the 25th ruler of that dynasty. Shabaka called their country Kemet, which means black land. And because of its rich, dark soil along the Nile River, this Nile Valley civilization called their land the two lands, the black land for the fertile strip of soil and the red land for the desert. These two bordered on both banks of the Nile River. This civilization called all of Africa by its original name, Kemet, which meant black land. At one time, Egypt and Ethiopia were considered one and the same. They were co-equal, coexisted, as one. The name Kemet was once used to mean all of Africa. It was also known as the land of Ham, which can be found in the 150th vision of Psalms, the 23rd verse. These original Hebrew people were dark-skinned. They were the Egyptians and Ethiopians that were forced to leave and migrated to Canaan. Now, besides being called Kemet, it was also called by many names. Okiba land, which means mother of mankind. The Garden of Eden. It also was called Tamari, the beloved land. Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan. The name Africa was given to this land by the ancient Romans. The first thing that Shabaka carves on the stone is that part of the history on the stone had been worm-eaten, but goes on to say that the stone was written upon by our ancestors. The engravings on part of the stone places godhood in the body and heart of all humans. Shabaka went on to tell the people, because this stone is scientifically sound, he commanded the scientists and historians of his time to rewrite this document for all times and space, for a people who wish to come into an understanding of who they are. He told the scientists and historians to write the creation story that reveals the cosmic beginnings and of how all came into being. This would include the original Trinity, one entity that came in three parts, which was the water or matter of the universe, the energy or the conversion of energy that brought things into being, and the atom that called all things into being. This included matter, space, infinity, finity, darkness, and light. They also acknowledged the hidden and the revealed. Everything that is written or carved on this stone is what we teach in our science classes today. This stone has on it a cosmic calendar broken up into 12 months. Every month represents 1 billion years. According to the cosmic calendar on this stone, it explains in the early months came the supercluster. Then as time goes on, the superclusters gave birth to clusters. And as time goes on, the clusters gives birth to galaxies. Galaxies gives birth to stars. And somewhere in this mix of time, our star was born. This is the star we live by here on earth. Also on the stone is carved that on September the 15th of that cosmic year, which was 8.5 billion years, came the coming into being of the universe of where our earth was born. And on December 30th, that the human family emerged out of the dust that started from the beginning of the development of the cosmos. Out of the cosmic reality, humankind emerges and develops a way of thinking, develops a way of providing for themselves. They would also create technology, all sciences, and all the languages. At the end of the cosmic year was created the Nile Valley civilization. Kemet, the Nile River Valley civilization contained the beginning of science, math, architecture, building with stone, medicine, astronomy, philosophy, literature, and the arts. Black people in Africa thousands of years ago developed these things before any other civilizations existed anywhere else on the earth. The cotton plant originated there. That is where the art of spinning cotton was first created and spun. I'm just saying, it exposes the misinformation of real history concerning where we ascended from. We came from great people of our past. The Nile Valley is the oldest documented culture. They were African and had dark skin. Our ancestors created the first alphabets. The Greeks called it hieroglyphics. Our ancestors created the first paper to write on, which was made from the papyrus plant. They created the first clock, and it was called the water clock. It was Africans that first discovered the world was round and not flat. We invented soap and alcohol, which is called rubbing alcohol today. We invented chemistry, and the term alchemy came from the African language, which today means chemistry. A lot of things that have laid the foundation for us in the present today originated from the inventions of our ancestors. When you think about engineering or talk about technology, when talking about writing, reading, about the refinement of speech, about math, when you talk about grammar or dialects for language or the concepts of astronomy, when you talk about music, it all started there. They created laws and a court system to be able to judge themselves. They created the liberal arts and the compass to determine directions. We were the first people to develop the concept of time, to divide a day into 24 hours. We were the first people to develop a 12-month calendar. We were the first people to build with stone. We were the first people to develop a system of education and develop the first universities. We were the first to develop libraries. We were the first physicians, the first psychiatrists, the first brain surgeons, the first dentists, the first governors, and the rulers of the first civilization. They were the first men and women to orient structure to the celestial bodies, and they invented astronomy and astrology and how to navigate through the waters and oceans. They were the first to invent fashion. They introduced dyes for colors to cloths and introduced different cloths to the world. They also introduced herbs and spices to season food and for medicines. They were human beings with spiritual energy who knew how to manifest the power of God on earth. They created a system to be able to transfer or transmit information from one generation to the next one. That included the study of the heavens, the study of nature around them, understanding geology, geography, and everything that every generation learned was passed down to the next. This was a beautiful thing what they done. This was in order to improve the family. Kemet was even honored in Nigeria because there was a cultural connection of unity in Africa. The first form of martial arts began in Africa. The first human civilization began in Africa. So fighting combative systems originated in Africa by the earliest tribes of the Kemets and the Nubians. Before any civilization in human recorded history existed outside of Africa, there exists a number of hieroglyphics on many tombs and temples performing forms of unarmed combat such as grappling, boxing, and kicking. These hieroglyphics also included weaponry. Weaponry included the spear, bow and arrow, club, boomerang, and the mace. We have to begin to understand the wealth, resources, and knowledge that has come out of Africa, including our ancestors, that were brought to America against their will. I'm going to stop here. God bless you. And this is to everyone that has a heart open to hear what I'm sharing with you. And I would love to get comments back from you, either a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a comment whether it was beneficial to you or informative to you or not. God bless you and have a blessed day.